Don't be afraid of spiders. Hello, and welcome to Let's Get Growing TV. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite plants, one of the easiest house plants in the world. This is the Chlorophytum comosum, also known as the spider plant. Yes, looks like little spiders hanging down. So this is my personal plant. This is Big Mama, and Big Mama lives in my kitchen, which is in an east-facing window, so she gets tons and tons of sun in the early day, and she doesn't mind. Even though I have her in that window, I don't get any leaf burn, I don't get any browning or anything, so she loves it over there. And I have her as in a hanging basket, so she just hangs there and glorifies my kitchen. I love Big Mama. Spider plants are native to the southern Africa tropics, and they grow from 12 to about 24 inches tall. Most of the time, they're grown just like this one in a hanging basket. They were very popular in the 70s. You know, it was love and peace and spread joy. And the reason why they were popular in the 70s is because they are very easy to propagate or take from this mother plant and make other plants. So as you can see, I have tons of little baby spiders all over the place. That's why they were so popular. And here at Let's Get Growing TV, we consider ourselves to be a village. So we're always sharing, whether it's knowledge, information, love. So in our village, the spider plant rules because this plant loves and loves and loves to share and give. All right, this particular plant, this Big Mama plant of mine, is a variegated version. So variegation simply refers to the patterns on the leaves. So you will have some plants that are just a basic green leaf, and you'll have other plants that have spots or stripes or hearts or different things on them. So those little patterns are what we call variegation. So this is a variegated variety, and it does come in a solid green variety as well. They like medium to bright light. So I have Big Mama up against the window, so she's getting indirect light, but it is bright light. And then I also have, this is Sue, and Sue is in that same kitchen, but she's further back from the window, so she gets about a medium light, and they both do well. And as you can see, she does pretty well. I water them maybe once weekly, but it depends. So watering is something that I always like to mention to you guys. I always like to remind you that you can have a weekly watering day. Mine is Sunday. However, you always, always, always want to check your plants and make sure that they need water. Even though it's watering day, sometimes they may not need it. If it's a little bit cold, sometimes then the water doesn't evaporate as fast. If it's warmer, it might evaporate faster, so you might have to water more. So I always remind you how we're gonna check these things. We can get down and dirty. Just take your finger, push it right down in the soil, about 1.5 inches. If the soil comes out crumbly and dry, you know it's time to water. If you push it down in there and it comes out a little silky and you can tell it's moist, then you don't give it water, whether it's watering day or not, okay? So you always wanna check with your plant specifically to see if it needs water. You can also use a moisture meter. So these, as it turns out, need to be watered. Big Mama gets watered maybe once weekly, maybe every other week if she's, you know, not dry. I tend to let her just dry all the way out. And when a plant is usually dried all the way out, you can feel the difference in the weight. It'll be lighter in weight. And she's just been watered Sunday. So it's, yes, a couple of days ago. So she feels really solid. So I know she doesn't need water. And a lot of times when they get watered, you'll see them start spiking up. You know, they'll get really happy and like this one, really happy and kind of stand up for you. So that's when you know that it's watered. So make sure that you're not overwatering your plant. What I recommend for the spider plant is something, a pot with, what I recommend for the spider plant is a pot with a drainage hole. Okay, I don't recommend you put these in plants that don't have a drainage hole. You want that extra water to go ahead and drain out so that the roots of the plant are not sitting in water, because that will cause something called root rot. We don't want our plants roots sitting in water, because that will cause something called root rot, which will create bacteria in the roots, and then it'll just eventually kill your plant. So having a pot with a good drainage hole, or maybe several drainage holes, is something you want. Also, I have this one in a terracotta pot, because terracotta also will wick out some of this water, so the plant will not be so moist all the time and the roots will not be sitting in water. So that's important. Another thing about watering this plant, what I usually do, I go ahead and I fill up my watering can and I let it sit out maybe 24 to 48 hours so that some of those chemicals and some of those minerals that we don't want in here will evaporate out of the water, and then I can use the water to water my plant. If you want and you got the money and the time, just go out and buy yourself some distilled water, drinking water, purified water. But this is a good old trick and it works just fine. Now these plants like to be a little bit root bound, meaning they like to stay in the pot until the very last minute. When it's root bound, you will see the roots are very tight. This one is not, but the roots are very tight in there and you're like, oh man, it might need a new pot. These guys like to be root bound a little bit. So this plant has been in this pot a little over 2 years and she's completely fine. Plants can stay in pots for a long period of time. You don't have to rush to repot them. And when you do, let me show you something else. If you have a plant that's in a pot this small, you don't want to go from this pot to a large pot like what Big Mama has. You want to go maybe a size up. So just a little bit more, just to give it some room. This is what happens if you put a small plant like this in a large pot. You have this tiny little plant and all that soil, which will hold water. And again, we don't want water sitting on our roots. So you want to go just a half a size up, maybe one size up, okay, when you repot. But these guys pretty much like to be root bound, okay? They like to stay in here. Now, you know, plants grow leaves and plants shed leaves, just like your hair. You're gonna lose your hair, you're gonna gain some hair. Just like friends, you're gonna lose some friends, honey, and you're gonna gain some friends. And most of the times the one you gain are better than the ones that's gone, okay? So just like us, these guys grow, and sometimes as you're growing, you're gonna have to let some things go. So don't worry if you see leaves falling, as long as you see healthy leaves remaining, okay? And you always have to embrace the change, honey. Embrace growth. Let some of that stuff go and get growing, all right? These are called pups. And as you can see, Big Mama has tons and tons of pups. And each one of these pups is a potential new plant. As you can see here, I've gotten several plants out of this one parent plant. So it's a very easy way to propagate this plant. You're simply gonna grab some clean shears. You always want them to be clean, all right? And sterile if possible. And you're just gonna go here and clip one of these pups, all right? So where we clipped it from the stem, this part is the part that's gonna remain up. And actually, where I clipped this one, there too. So let's just cut this in half. Sometimes it happens, honey. Get too overzealous. So we actually have two. This is so cute, oh my God. All right, so we have two here. You have the stem there, and the opposite side of the stem is where your roots are going to grow out of, okay? So you'll see these little sort of pre-roots. All you're gonna do to propagate this and make a new plant, two ways. You can either do it in soil or you can do it in water. I personally like to do it in water because I can see the growth, okay? Very easy, find some bottle. I personally like to go to Goodwill or other thrift stores and find these really unique bottles and create sort of a water garden. As you can see here, we've got all these plants and they really look nice when they're growing in water. So how to propagate this pup? Of course, we're gonna take the root side down, which means the stem side is gonna be up. we're just gonna fill this. I hope it don't make a mess here. We're just gonna fill this with water, and this could be tap water. You don't need to put any nutrients in here, no fertilizer, nothing like that. You're just gonna fill the water up. And of course I made a mess. That's what I do. All right, so we're just gonna take this root side down. Look how easy this is. 1, 2, ta-da. And in 24 to 72 hours, you are going to see roots growing right out of that cute little bottle. Isn't that easy? That was so easy. So let me show you how they look. Save my little cute guy. Actually, I'll just put him right in there too. Get on in there. So after a couple of days, this is what you're going to see. You see all these lovely roots? It's so easy to propagate these. So imagine each one of these is a plant. And you can either now keep this in the water, which I love to do because I like to see all of these roots, or you can take this and put it right into soil, share it with a friend, share it with a family member, and you can put it in all different types of bottles. You see this wonderful bottle? Yes, this was a fun bottle. Had a little bit of fun with this, but after that, I said, hey, we can repurpose it, put one of my baby spiders in there, and look at those beautiful roots. I love seeing that, and you can see them flow back and forth, and it's just a beautiful little bottle. I sit this right on my countertop, or any shape bottle that you want. Like I said, I just find these sometimes at the dollar store, sometimes at a thrift shop, and there you go, you can't beat it. And now we have a lovely little water garden. Isn't that a cute display? Yeah, so I like that. The second way you can do propagation, the second way you can propagate this pup, we're gonna, of course, take the root side down again, and we'll just get a little soil. Actually, I'm gonna use this small one because, like I said, you really don't wanna have too large of a pot because you want the roots to have a chance to really get in there and grow. So we're gonna take this little tiny pot, and I'm just, I gotta use my hands. Sorry, nail tech. She's always ready to kill me because I'm always ruining my nails. But then I go back and pay you money, so guess what? It's fine. All right. So we're just gonna take the root side down. All I did was make a little indentation in there so we can fit right in there. And we don't have to push too hard. We're just gonna sit this in here. Make sure that the soil covers those little pre-roots there. We got our stems still sticking up. And voila, we've got another spider plants. Look at that. How easy was that? So this not only is easy to maintain, it can be in medium light, it can be in bright light. Just give it some water. I feed it every other watering. So I'll give it water this week, next week water with a little bit of nutrients in it. Stick it in the window and go. And she's gonna give you babies. What is easier than that? This is the easiest plant ever. I love Big Mama. So let me show you another variety. I believe if I'm wrong, you can correct me in your comments, but this is called the Bonnie. So this is Curly Sue. Let's take this off of Curly Sue. And as I said, most of the time spider plants are used as hanging plants because they're just cute. And of course, what people love to see are these pups hanging down. So that's what I love. So we're gonna remove this so you can see Curly Sue. And all I did was made her this little face. So Curly Sue was inspired because I used to do hair for a long time. So I thought I can take pups, multiple pups, and plant them in one pot. So when you want your plant to look really super full like this one has 3 different pups inside of one. And that's what makes it look full instead of just doing the one. But I like doing the one in these water containers. However, so the idea was to make her look like she has 2 little ponytails, right? So isn't that cute? All right, let's take this down so I can show you that, interior design and houseplants go hand in hand. We all know that because you want the plant to look good in your space. So I like to let my plants just grow wild and do whatever they do, but you can also trim them to make them fit into the you can also trim them to make them fit into the space, or if they're just getting too out of control and you just need to trim them back. It doesn't hurt the plant at all. Again, you want to take your shears here, and you want to make sure that they're nice and clean. And we're going to make these ponytails pop a little bit. Girl, you need a little haircut. Let's go. And all you do is just trim this off. It's not going to hurt, Curly Sue. We're just going to trim these little ugly ones off. You got to get your bangs right, girl. That's it. And it won't even hurt the plant at all. We're just going to give her a nice little trim. Maybe she's got a hot date. Need those ponytails popping, right? And there we go. Look at that. She's looking better already. Okay. Let's see. There we go. Oh, we're going to trim this right here. So you can always just trim your plant to fit the space. It really doesn't hurt. I'm going to have to grab this one. It really doesn't hurt it at all. And so the Bonnie has these lovely curly leaves, which make it look like hair to me. Thus the inspiration for this pot. But you can see they're nice and curly. Now, I've had Curly Sue only for about a year, and although she has pups, you can see her pups there, she doesn't have as many as Big Mama, so I haven't felt like taking away her baby. So I don't bother her babies right now, but believe you me, when she gets bigger, I will be making some more plants to share. All right, so this is the Bonnie. So you've learned a lot about the spider plant, super easy. I told you the watering schedule, creative ideas, and this is for you to share. We're a village over here, and we like to share with each other, whether that's just giving love or giving free plants. We like free plants. We like free plants. All right, so that is the Chlorophytum comosum, which is also known, So that is the Chlorophytum comosum, which is also known as the spider plant, all right? So be inspired by this spider plant. Go out and get you one, and let's get growing. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Let's Get Growing TV, and also contact us at letsgetgrowingtv@gmail.com.